Hey, Chaos family. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth Hills. I'm a certified personal trainer, and I'm a mom of one of the players on the Chaos team for Lake Oswego Soccer Club. I had a blast working with the girls last week and teaching them some mobility and strength drills that they can use to just support their general fitness, and these are all things designed with injury prevention in mind. That being said, this is by no means a comprehensive program. This is just some general good practices that any athlete can use. And of course, this is a good foundation that they can build upon as they develop their athletic career. All right, so join me now. Let's practice a routine that will serve any athlete in enhancing mobility and developing a little bit more strength and a little bit more readiness for athletic activities. So starting on your feet, just stand up nice and tall, and this works great barefoot too. So if you're inside, you can absolutely take your shoes off, but let's just start rocking from our toes onto our heels, noticing if we can feel a stretch on the bottom of our feet, and just kind of noticing what we feel as we really engage with the floor underneath us. And then let's rock from the outer edge of our feet and then inward toward our arch. Just kind of working our feet. We want to start with that stable foundation, right? So doing 1 or 2 more reps. You want to get about like 6 of each. Then just reset. So you're standing nice and tall, and let's do a nice ragdoll twist. Just letting your arms be nice and heavy and just noticing how connected your feet feel with the floor, sort of holding you up. So take a couple big breaths in and then bring yourself back to center. Continuing with some breath focus, I want you to put your hands on the sides of your rib cage and see if you can inhale into your hands. So we call this umbrella breathing. Imagining that your rib cage can open up like an umbrella on the inhale, and then exhale, let it all close back down. So do a few like that. I know we all want to get into the routine and into something more interesting than breathing, but breathing is so important. And it really helps us engage with our body and notice what we're feeling. So as you take these last couple of breaths, notice too if your shoulders scrunch up towards your ears. Maybe do these last couple with your arms just hanging down and see if you can allow your shoulders to relax. And exhale, just let it all out. So before we get into any more movement, I just want to make sure that everyone understands why this matters. I think everybody is interested in staying injury-free and feeling their best, having lots of energy and not feeling pain in their body, right? So we need our bodies to work optimally, and we have joints in our bodies that are made to move with a big range of motion, and other joints that need to be very stable. So as an example, our ankles move in a lot of different directions. Our hips move in a lot of different directions. It can cross over, but our knees only move in one direction. So our knees are a relatively stable joint, whereas hips and ankles are relatively mobile. And we've got these different types of joints throughout our body. If we can enhance the mobility of our mobile joints, then we're much more likely to help our less mobile joints stay stable and healthy. When we're missing mobility in the places that we're supposed to have it, then we kind of ask for more movement from areas where it's not really designed to do as much movement, and that's where sometimes a little bit of overstress can happen and higher likelihood of injury in those cases. So that's why this matters. So stay with me. We're going to get into it. Let's start with a little bit more movement with the forward fold. So just letting your upper body be heavy, really relaxing into this. You might feel a little tightness on your hamstrings. So let's do one more, and I'll show you a cool trick. If you come down and then use your hands and push on the outside of your calves while you're in this forward fold, you're going to get a little bit more of a stretch on the back of the legs. So inhale up. Let's do one more. Bend your knees as much as you need. Find the floor, and we're going to walk our hands around to the left. We'll walk our hands around to the right, getting a little more stretch in our side body and hips. And then let's roll on up. So hopefully now, after doing our drills with our feet, we feel ready for a little single leg balance. I sort of previewed this earlier, but we're going to do a hip hurdler, looking to get as much range of motion in our hip as possible. So move your hip around. If you're feeling wobbly, hold on to something. We want to get all the movement from the hip area. So if you're finding that your upper body is moving a lot like that, you want to find a way to stabilize yourself and do about 5 or so each direction. If standing up is really hard, an alternative could be to come down on the hands and knees and keeping your upper body really stable, do some nice big hip rotations in that position. So that's a great option if you're still kind of developing that stability. So next one, bringing your feet just kind of right under the hips, we're gonna squat down. And don't worry if your heels peel off the ground. We actually want that because I wanna stretch out our ankles and the bottoms of our feet and our Achilles area. So you can kind of rock side to side for that, or do that little twisty movement I was just doing. But take a moment here, have a little fun with it. Again, if you need to hold on to something, that's totally okay. And then let's press into our heels, roll on up again, drop your shoulders down and back. And this time we're gonna go a little bit wider and start doing some squats. So make sure, first things first, that your knees are tracking over your toes. So this is something we're gonna come back to again and again, but we don't want the knees caving in towards the center, and we don't really want them wobbling way out to the side either. So we wanna keep everything in line. So if your toes are more forward, your knees should be more forward. If your toes are more out, your knees would be out. And then let's hold at the bottom, plant one elbow to the inside of your knee. We're gonna rotate open, opening up our chest and getting a little bit of mobility here. So stand up, and then we'll come down. We'll do that a few more times. Follow your hand with your eyes, really allowing your entire upper body to rotate and find some space. And you'll probably notice too that you feel a little bit more energy from doing this stuff. So bring your feet back down. We're gonna just press now into our hands. I wanna start to really stabilize the core a little bit more. So pressing in your hands, do the exhale movement. We're gonna see if we can come down and sort of balance here and do a little knee tap down. This is very similar to what we did a minute ago, but now we're looking for a little bit more core stability, and we're still working on ankle mobility and hip mobility. So maybe 3 taps each side, whatever you've got there. And then let's come on down into a tabletop position. Push in your hands, get nice and tall through your spine. Push in your toes. Now we're in a bear pose. I want to bring one foot forward and kind of come up into a pyramid shape and then back. So we're lengthening the back of the leg. We're also getting a nice stretch in our back. Starting to energize the upper body too. Now supporting ourselves on our hands. Let's do a couple on each side. And then feel free to take a little break, shake out the wrists if your wrists get tired. We've got another movement to do down here. We're gonna come into a big deep lunge. Bring your elbow down towards your ankle. Rotate to the sky. Plant the hand. Shift your weight back. Drop into a half kneeling position and stand on up. Other side, step it back. Dip that elbow down, rotate, bring your hand down, shift your hips up, drop that back knee down. Let's do a couple more. One more for each side. Don't worry if you're missing a couple elements of this. I know it's like a multi-part stretch, but you can see we're starting to get into more total body movement and really preparing for a little bit more athletic activity. So let's just go side to side now, getting a nice stretch on the inner thigh. Again, take notice of your knees. Make sure they're tracking over your toes. So take a peek down. Make sure you're sitting your hips back. So side view on this one, hips back. We're not shooting the knee forward like that, okay? So if your squat looks like that, I want you to think about pushing your hips back and then moving into that squat. So take a little break. We're going to move on into our band work. So first couple exercises are just all about activating the glutes. We really want those glutes working. It's some of our biggest muscles that we have. And those are really going to help us when we're trying to do things like running, jumping, leaping, kicking, whatever you need to do. So I've got the band above my knee joint. It's not on my knee, it's above the knee. And I'm going to plant my feet roughly under my hips or maybe a little wider, just enough to have some tension here. And then we're going to sit down maybe a third of a way into a squat. And I want you to just, again, notice your knees. Did the band just pull your knees into the center? If it did, bring your knees back over your ankles. Now we're going to go back to that in and out movement. It's sort of like what we did in the beginning. We're going to go in and out, warming up, creating some heat in the hips. So you're probably going to be feeling that. And then I want you to bring those knees again right over your ankle. And we're just going to work one side at a time. So while this leg's moving, this leg's not going to sleep. We're keeping that knee stacked. So everything here is in line. This leg is working like crazy to stabilize against the band pulling on it, right? So do about 6, and then we're going to stabilize this side and do about 6 more. Yeah. So this will get you warm if you're cold. As I'm shooting this, it's very cold outside, but luckily this is getting me super, super warm. So stand up nice and tall. Shake all that out. I know it gets really, really fiery there in the glutes. So we're going to go into some walking patterns. I'm going to move over to the side. First one, I'll go side view for you. We're going to come back into about a half squat. Again, make sure your squat doesn't look like this. We want our hips back. You should be able to look down and see your toes. And without letting your knees come together, without losing tension on your band, we're walking forward and back. So we'll do this for about 20 or 30 seconds. If you don't have a lot of space, just do a lot of laps forward and back like I am. So we're just working on keeping that same distance between your feet and your knees the whole time. Holy moly. This is burning big time. Okay, shake it out. We're going to come back into our bear position. So you can do this on your knees if you're not ready to do the bear, but pushing into your toes. Again, watch your knees. Don't let them come together. Keep everything in line, and we're going to tap our opposite shoulders. So now we're working the core, building some strength and stability there. Keep your knees just 2 inches off the ground. We don't want to be all piked up like this, right? Oh yeah, I know it's hard. This is called a workout. Okay, so doing about 6 for each side. Forgive me because I'm not counting at all. Roll on up. Second round of monster walks. You'll be relieved to know I'm only going to take you through one set of everything in this little series. But you're welcome to pause this and go back and do more. So notice how tiny these little steps are. I'm not stepping together and losing tension, right? I'm just doing little baby steps, side to side. Knees are staying locked right over the ankle. We're not walking like this, right? So again, 20 to 30 seconds, maybe a couple sets of 8 each way. We'll usually do it. You're doing awesome. I know, this is really tough. If you're not used to this kind of work, it's super hard. Okay, take a nice big breath in. Fold it forward, enjoy the ride. That's a nice hamstring stretch for you. Let's walk out and find a plank position, okay? You can come to your knees if you need to, but if you're ready, let's tap your shoulder with your opposite hand once each side, and then tap your toe out to the side once each side. Tap, tap. For any of the girls that were in our session last week, we did taps with our toes, and then we reached and gave high five to our neighbor. So if you've got somebody with you, you can give each other high fives. So just go for about 4, 5, 6 each side. Tap, tap. We're going to come on up. Woo. Okay, so now that we're all warmed up, let's do some very quick drills just to really wake up our nervous system and get ready for some more athletic movement. So we're going to come into a staggered position. We're gonna do a few sets with the same positioning. So I have my left foot forward, my right foot back. I'm gonna get into sort of an athletic stance. My trailing leg, the back leg, is always gonna be my pushing leg, and my front leg is always gonna be my catching leg. We're gonna do this little push and catch movement, and I'm gonna make a little box. So I don't have a ton of room here before you won't be able to see me. So I'm making a pretty small box. I suggest doing about four little paces in each direction, or as an alternative, I'm gonna switch legs now, so you can switch once you've completed the box. You could go side to side. So I'm pushing with my trailing leg. Now I'm pushing with this leg. It's my trailing leg, and I'm catching myself, stopping myself with that lead leg. And then instead of making a box, I'm just gonna now turn forward, go forward, and then I'll be going backward. So hopefully that makes sense. Pushing off and catching yourself. And then now you can take the band off. All right. So now we just want to make sure our nervous system is like really awake and shake out any of that tightness and stickiness that's there from the bands. So get into your athletic stance. I want you to imagine you're on hot lava and just push off the floor with your feet really quickly. So a couple sets like that. Now a couple sets, moving our feet in and out. Other side moves first. And then we're gonna go into some rotational hops. Just a few. We just wanna really wake up our body, make sure our nervous system knows what is going on. So now that we're all awake, our muscles are super activated, we're gonna practice a little bit of balance, and then we're gonna practice some more powerful movement. So plant one foot. I want you to imagine that there's a semicircle of flowers growing around you, and you wanna reach with one hand and pick 6 flowers from all around the circle. So reach as far as you can, pick it all the way from the stem. So we're trying to reach. And when you've made it all the way around, switch hands and pick 6 more flowers. And if you need to come down and check your balance with your other foot, that's totally okay. All right, we're gonna just go through 6 each hand, and then switch legs and do the same thing. So reset. We've got our same side hand working first, although it does not really matter, just as long as you get both sides. So reaching. Oops, I'm kind of losing my balance. Totally okay. So you make it all the way around and then go with your other hand. This is a really great practice, not only for balance, but notice how mobile your hip has to be here. So lots of things working, core is working. Yeah, lots of stuff's going on. Shake all that out. Okay, now same idea, same pattern. If you have a partner, you can have your partner move away from you in that semicircle and give high fives for this next one, or you can just imagine, or if you have some targets, you could set up some cones, which works well too. So we're gonna do that same patterning. I'm gonna keep my left leg here, but I'm gonna step and push off with my right leg, loading that leg, and then using some power and force to push off. So notice my left leg didn't move, okay? I'm gonna go back the way I came. So again, we're just learning to move and develop this power in like different positions and different planes of motion. So now I'm gonna plant my right leg, step. So it's just a lunge, but multi-directional. And same thing, coming back the way we came. Okay, shake your legs out. A couple more drills. First one, we're gonna hop and we're gonna stick our landing, okay? So we're gonna hop from one foot. I'm gonna rotate 90 degrees. So I'm gonna start with my right foot. See if I can stick my landing. And I bet you're more successful at this now than if you had done this before all of our activation drills with our bands and our little pogos we just did. So do about 3, working that same leg, 3, 4, and then go to the other leg. Hopping. Woo. It's totally normal if we have one leg that's a little bit easier than the other one. That is totally typical. So if you have one side where it just feels like more of a challenge, maybe give yourself a couple extra practices on that side. Make that leg work for it. All right, finally got it. So those are our little rotational hops. Now we're going to start pushing off one foot and land on the other foot. We want to try to cover some ground. Same idea. We're going to do a lateral bound and see if we can stick our landing, okay? Step it back. Stick your landing. All right? And keep in mind, I've been practicing these. I do a lot of these. So if yours are a little bit wobbly, that's totally okay. That's why I made this video for you, so you can practice. So try a few on the other leg. Pushing off. 3 or 4. And of course, if this is, again, the kind of thing where you're like, wow, that was really challenging. I didn't feel like I had my balance very well. Rewind. Practice again, or just practice again tomorrow. You have lots of time to get all these things dialed in. So stick around. We're going to do strength. So everything's activated now. Our hips, glutes, core, shoulders, everything's kind of warm and ready. So now we're going to do some strength work. We're going to do a couple sets of exercises that are designed to help establish more strength in our muscles. So using our band, we're going to actually stand on it. And trust me, it won't break. It shouldn't break. I've done this a lot. So now I'm standing on the band and I'm holding it. I'm going to drop my shoulders down and back, keep my ribs nice and tight, and just push my hips back with light bend in my knees, driving through my heels to do, it's like a deadlift, this hip hinge exercise. So we're working on these muscles, the hamstrings. As you stand up tall from this position, think about pushing your heel into the ground and squeeze your tush at the top, okay? Let's do about 10 of these. This is actually kind of our warm-up, our foundational movement. So remember this feeling of having the nice flat back, keeping your spine long, and using your hamstrings. I have a feeling that was more than 10. Okay, now we're gonna just bring this around one foot. So as you get tall, it's like the band wants to pull you down like this. So make sure you drop your shoulder down. You're standing up super tall, like there's a string coming out of the top of your head. For the first time, I'm actually gonna cross my body. I'm holding with my opposite hand, okay? And we're gonna do the same movement, but on one leg. So standing up nice and tall, we're allowing that band to shorten and then push into the ground to get tall. Let's do about 8 to 10 again. Notice how slow I'm going on the way down, you guys. I don't want to see the band yank you down like this. Okay? You control the band. Use your muscles. They're strong in both directions. So not only the pushing phase like this, but they're strong as you slowly lower yourself down. This exercise is called a single leg RDL, aka single leg Romanian deadlift. It is the #1 most recommended exercise for female soccer players to help reduce the likelihood of knee injury. So while I cannot promise that anyone doing this program will stay injury-free, I can't promise that, but we can stack the odds in our favor, right? Okay, so I've now moved the band to my other leg. I'm checking my shoulder to make sure that I'm not rounded forward and slouchy like this. Nice and tall. And we'll do the same exercise on this other leg. So, focusing again on those feet. We practice really grounding ourselves. It does help on your reaching leg to gently squeeze your glute to help that leg not feel like a floppy noodle back there, right? And then check your knee too. If your knee is wobbling around a lot, See if you can just lightly bend it and help keep it in line. All right, so about 8 to 10, get that even burn, whatever you had on the other side. And then don't worry, our next exercise is upper body, so your legs will get a little break. Whew, okay. Take that band off your foot. We're gonna bring the band up around our forearms. So if I just let the band relax, my arms come together so that eventually, like if my arms made two straight lines, they would eventually come to meet. So we wanna have two parallel lines. So I'm gonna pull my forearms apart a little bit, and that means I'm gonna squeeze my shoulder blades down and back a little bit. And I'm gonna imagine I'm driving a tractor or a big truck. So my arms are facing, or my palms are facing each other, arms are out long, staying parallel, doing this for about 20 to 30 seconds. So you're building that nice shoulder, upper body strength, core strength even. If you're feeling like this is too easy, you can practice it on one leg. Do a few on one leg, a few on the other leg. And we'll take it down in 3, 2, 1. Whew, that's so hard, you guys. Okay, let's bring this back to the legs. I'm gonna do a, excuse me. Do a little bit of hip flexor strength, okay? So the band can be here. If this doesn't feel like enough resistance, you can put it back around your feet. I'll show that on the next set. So holding this leg up, practice your umbrella breath, like one umbrella breath here, and then switch. So hold, the goal being that your knee is in line with your hip, not here, not here. We want it right in line with our hip. Take your umbrella breath and switch. And these do slip a little bit. It's kind of, I'm wearing slightly slippier leggings. It's kind of the nature of it. It's okay. So 1 or 2 breaths. Challenge yourself to hold that balance. Squeeze your glute on the standing leg again. Imagine you've got a string coming out of the top of your head. Let's do one more. I think this will balance me out to about 4 or 5 each side. And of course, you might be going at a slightly different pace than me. That is totally okay. All right, last exercise in our strength block. When we were all together in person, we used a partner, and we were in a side plank with our partner holding onto our band, and we were pulling on each other. So it was challenging our side plank. So since I don't have a partner here, I'm just gonna do a little bit of mobility, reaching my arm through and my arm up, working on keeping my shoulder stacked right over my hands and my body nice and stable like a surfboard. So squeeze your glutes, do a few on this side, and then we'll go and do a few on the other side. So finding that side plank position. If you need to put your bottom knee down, that's totally fine. I'll show that. So you can practice until you're ready to come into the full side plank. So doing maybe 4 or 5 of these nice arm rotations. Again, stretching the space between your shoulder blades. Awesome. Okay. So that's round 1 of our strength work. Let's do another round. So grab a sip of water with me again. Turns out talking makes me really thirsty. So, round 2. I'm gonna skip the 2-legged RDL and go straight into single leg. You can always pause if you like that 2-leg movement with us around your feet. But let's go back to our single leg RDL. This time I'm gonna keep the band on my same side arm and leg. So this is a little bit more of a challenge for stabilizing the torso. So shoulder down and back, ribs are tight. You can use your free arm to reach out, creating a nice long line. Let's do 8 to 10 of these. Again, reminder to move nice and slow. You control the band does not control you, okay? So breathing in, exhaling on the way up. Think about that umbrella breathing. Let that help you get tall and balanced. This is so, so good for your lower body strength, but this also gives you strong shoulders and a strong core. So this is one of my absolute favorite exercises. Okay, a couple more. As always, I didn't count. So you can leave me a comment and let me know how off I was on all my counting, but you count for yourself. That's your job. Okay, shoulder down and back, ribs tight. Inhale, reach. Exhale, get tall. Think about the standing leg. Think about as you're getting ready to get tall, push that heel into the ground and squeeze your glute at the top. Inhaling, exhaling. Again, pay attention to your knees as well. Make sure those knees are staying in line with your toes. You want to build strong, stable knees. That's a big priority. Okay, so last round for upper body, we did our big tractor driving exercise. This time we're going to set up the same way. We're going to go into a plank, and we're going to move side to side. So little baby steps, just like we did on our monster walking. We're going to go really tiny so that we keep tension on the band the whole time. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. You can keep going if you want to. I know we might all be getting a little bit tired, so stay with me. We're almost finished with strength work. So finish your upper body exercise, and then we're going to go into our marching exercise. And I told you I'd show it with the band around my feet. So last time we were around the knees. This is a little bit more challenging, and I'm going to show you another variation. So adding another challenge. So see if you can hold your leg like this without tipping over. Nice and tall, and then rotate in the direction of your forward leg. So let's just we'll do 6 or 8 each way. Hold, rotate. You guys are so awesome. The fact that you're taking the time to work on improving your fitness and taking care of your body and just testing yourself to see what new challenges you can accomplish is so awesome. It's so awesome. So I hope you're feeling proud right now. All right, rotating. If you're not ready for the rotation yet, if you're still getting used to the knee raise part of this, that's all good. You can practice this as many times as you need to. Awesome. Okay, so last thing we did a side plank. I'm going to bring this up around my knees this time. Different variation. Our last side plank we did the rotation. If you have a partner, you can pull on the band with each other. This last one I'm going to show you, I'm going to come to my elbow. I've got the band here. We're going to do a clamshell exercise with our side plank. So let's reach the top arm up. We're going to drive our knees apart as we rise up into that side plank. So your bottom knee is going to stay on the ground, and we're just going to press the knees apart. So you're pushing your bottom knee down while you're pressing your top knee away. Make sure you're not sinking into your shoulder. And I've got this sweatshirt on, so you can't see my shoulders very well, but my neck is nice and long. I'm not slouching down and scrunching my neck. Okay, let's do the other side. 6 to 8. I think that was about 8. So again, setting up nice and tall in your shoulder to start out with. Drive those knees apart. Squeeze your glutes. Inhale down, exhale as you press. They do make these bands and mini resistances, so as you get stronger and you're doing this type of routine more often, you might notice it starts to feel a little bit easy, and then you can just grab a heavier, thicker band to make it harder again. So there's always ways to keep making progress. Oh yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and take that off. That is a great foundational strength routine that you can come back to again and again. After that last one, I highly recommend coming down for a little stretch time So maybe coming into this figure 4 position. If you're outdoors and you cannot lie down on the ground because of, it's dirty or muddy or wet, you can actually do this sitting on a bench, or you can even hold onto a wall and kind of sit back into it with your leg crossed. So do both sides. Stretching is the easiest thing to skip because we were already thinking about the next thing we want to do, but it is so important. So important. So bend and straighten the leg. Maybe make some nice circles with your ankle. Yeah, so if you're in a place right now that's not super conducive to stretching, make sure you make some time to stretch, or just find some variations of these that will work. Put your heel up on a bench somewhere and stretch your hamstrings out, stretch your ankles out. Give your body a little love and gratitude because it's so amazing that we can do all the things that we do. Go ahead and catch one ankle in your hand. Go stretch your quad. Wow, where'd my balance go? I think getting up off the ground made me lose it for a second. All right. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or more, any concerns, things that you want to work on in your fitness and your athletic readiness. I love connecting with people and helping them in their real actual life. So don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear from you. I hope this video is helpful, and I hope you guys have a very successful season.